Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Lower Providence Township Board of Supervisors for Thursday, December 15th, 2016. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Good evening, Deb. Would you please call the roll?
My pleasure. Mr. Sergini.
Here.
Ms. Ekman.
Here.
Mr. Duffy.
Here.
Mr. McFarland. Here. And Ms. Zimmerman.
Here.
Thank you very much. Prior to the meeting this evening, an executive session was held to discuss legal, personnel, and real estate matters. The first item on the agenda tonight is the consent agenda, consisting of the minutes of our last meeting in December, the minutes of the various boards and commissions in the township, the monthly reports from our staff, fiscal matters as noted, and also the dates for 2017 meeting dates for the Board of Supervisors, including our reorganization meeting on January 3rd, and the approval of all 2017 holidays. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the board? From the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Item 2A, consideration of a resolution approving LD 15-06 Eagleville Hospital. That's preliminary minor land development. And we have the representatives from Eagleville Hospital back from 2 weeks ago. And John Rice has some information as well, and we welcome Mr. Clement here this evening. Good evening, sir.
As you indicated, we were here 2 weeks ago. I'm Joe Clement. I'm here representing Eagleville Hospital. I have Gene Ott with me, who is the COO of Eagleville. If the board has any questions, we'd be happy to entertain them. Otherwise, we're seeking preliminary and final land development approval for this minor land development.
Right, Joe, have you seen the resolution?
I have not.
Okay, the resolution's pretty straightforward, given the level of improvements. The waivers are in here that have been requested, and the only issue really is compliance with the Woodrow and Associates letter, the last letter that was done by Woodrow and Associates. I don't know whether there's a need to do development and financial security agreements. Tim, there's probably some stormwater things that need to be done.
There's no publicly dedicated improvements, John, so I'm not sure we need a development agreement. We might want to escrow some money. There is some erosion controls and some stormwater stuff that we want to make sure gets completed. So you have that abbreviated form of
Yeah, it's a scaled down type of an agreement, and I think Tim's office has to inspect it. So they're the conditions that are set forth in the proposed preliminary final resolution. And the two waivers that were requested, 12332 of Saldo and 12333 of Saldo, which is the sidewalks, curbing along the frontage of the property.
Thank you, Mr. Rice.
So there's really nothing else with this. It's a fairly minimal project, and I think Tim and I can both recommend that the board approve it.
Agreed.
Any questions from the board? Any issues with taking the resolution inclusive of the waivers as well? Okay, is there a motion to approve LD 15-06 Eagleville Hospital preliminary final minor land development, including the waivers as noted?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments from the board? From the audience? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a happy New
Have
Year.
a good night. Thank you as well. Item 2B, appointment of Jennifer Reed as student representative to the Board of Supervisors. I have some information on that. Jennifer is a student at Methacton High School. The student rep to the board is a program that we began several years back with great success. And we had an opportunity as a board to meet with Jennifer, and she brings a lot of wonderful character and intelligence to the board, and look forward to her being with us in 2017. So I'll make a motion to appoint Jennifer Reed as student representative to the Board of Supervisors, and I'll look for a second.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the board? From the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3C, consideration of an ordinance authorizing the participation of Lower Providence Township in the Delaware Valley Insurance Trust, or DIVIT. And John has some information on that.
Okay, what's in front of the board is a proposed ordinance which would approve the trust agreement with DIVIT, which is a organization that pools risks in terms of liability. The agreement is attached to the ordinance. I believe this would be, Don, if I'm correct, this would be effective the end of the year?
No, it's actually
Or-
effective December 1st.
December 1st, okay. It provides for the township's participation in the pool. There are, I don't know how many member municipalities there are. I know there's
About 45.
45 member municipalities in several different counties. So it's been advertised. Tonight was advertised in the December 2nd edition of the Times Herald, and is up for discussion and enactment for the board.
Thank you, John. And continuing this would, or approving this rather, would continue a trend that we've already started with, moving towards DIVIT for other forms of healthcare, correct, Jerry?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Questions or comments or issues from the board? Okay, is there a motion to approve authorization for the participation in the Lower Providence Township, or Lower Providence Township participation in the Delaware Valley Insurance Trust?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. Questions or comments from the board? From the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2D, authorization to execute electric generation contracts. And Jerry Golis has information. Good evening, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, the township has two electric generation contracts, one for our general electricity needs, the other for our street lights and traffic signals. They'll expire at the end of December, and then the other contract the end of January. We're currently with Constellation Energy. We have been with them for just about 2 years, and we are with them through the Pennsylvania League of Municipalities. So even though our solicitor has determined that second-class township does not need to bid electricity contracts, the Pennsylvania Municipal League has already done the due diligence and vetted Constellation. In addition to that, the Finance Department, a few years ago, I know we worked with Colleen on this, we had gone out and received daily updates on pricing for the kilowatt hours to do our own study on it. We did the same thing again this year with different providers for the generation portion, and the board has last week's prices in their agenda packet. These numbers are very similar this time through, that we had updated numbers this week. But what we're looking for is to move forward. Constellation is, again, the most economical of the providers that we looked into. We would continue to maintain the distribution through PICO's infrastructure. But just as an example, we can go anywhere from a 1-year contract to lock in a rate up to 60 months. And I know Don's going to comment on this in a moment. But if we went with a 1-year contract, we would save $7,387 over what we're currently paying in 2016. So the rates are decreasing by just a fraction of a cent, but because our usage is so high, it generates a substantial savings. If we went with a 2-year contract, the total savings over those 2 years would be $14,166. Again, this is based on today's rates. We would lock in tomorrow. And if we went as far as out to a 3-year contract, that would be a little over $22,000 that we would save. Now, we are currently ending a 2-year contract, so the previous board did have a comfort level with that term, but I know Don would like to comment on his experience with other municipalities and how they approached this.
Thank you. Yeah, when you look at this, you really like playing the stock market. You don't know what the rates are really going to do over the next year, 2 years, 5 years. So, you know, it's really a decision the board, you know, that you'll make. You know, the comfort level usually is a 2 or 3 year contract. You know what your rates are going to be for 2 or 3 years. You know what your budget's going to be for 2 or 3 years, and there's some comfort in that. we know what we're gonna be dealing with money-wise over the next 3 years. Say we went with a 3-year contract. Maybe to go out 5 years, you might be rolling the dice saying, okay, the rates, we're gonna anticipate that the rates are gonna go up during that time, and we're gonna lock in at the lower rate and achieve that savings. Well, the rates may go down, you never know. So, as I said, it's like playing the stock market. It's really what your comfort level is, how far out you want to lock in these rates. We're going to see a savings. Rates generally don't fluctuate too much, but you never know with the industry, So it's, but my recommendation would probably be a 3-year. It's usually what I've dealt with in the past. Seems to be a good comfort level, and you come back after 3 years and you see where everything lays at that point.
Sounds pretty reasonable. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Jerry. It's a pleasure of the board. Mr. Duffy?
Well, Don, is there any way to structure a 3-year contract with an opt-out after 2 years if the rates draw below a certain point, or?
There is a penalty, and the Constellation was not able to provide us with the exact penalty until that time. So there definitely is a penalty to ending a contract early, at least with Constellation. And we have that in writing from them. Sue had posed that question last week.
Approval of the 3-year, though, is a $22,000 guaranteed savings.
Yes, over the 3 years.
Can I just ask, because I don't know, and maybe none of us do, but when was the last time the rate was at 6.3 cents?
I absolutely do not know.
I mean, are the odds pretty good that it's probably never going to be much below
I don't think
that?
it's ever been that low. I think this is the lowest it's been we've seen. I mean, when we started this, when they went to deregulation, I think they were at 93, somewhere in that range was the first contract that I locked into. So, they've gone down, they've been going down steadily, but this is obviously the lowest. There has to be some floor here.
Right.
And that's what you worry about, okay?
If it's historically low, and we think there's a floor, is a
Well-
5-year a better approach?
Well, and that's a good discussion to have,
Well, yes, because Constellation or any other supplier of this type would not be offering rates that they're pretty sure are going to be below what they pay.
Right.
They're going to be hedging against what they think is actually going to be a lower rate. They might be wrong, and they'll lose if they are, but that's probably how they're calculating this.
Right, that's the reason, yeah.
I'd be comfortable, I think, with the 3-year rate. The opt-out is a nice thing to have, but generally that's going to cost you some money.
cost you more than.
Upfront kind of thing. So I don't see high risk in going out at 3. If the rates go way up, and we've given away those 2 years, that's a risk. But Constellation is telling us that's highly unlikely. I mean, based on what they're betting.
Based on their rates for a 5-year period, correct.
So I'd be comfortable with 3.
Barry, you don't have those rate numbers from way back when we originally did this the first time?
We will have those on file. I just do not have them with me this evening.
I mean, I know this is definitely lower. So the difference, if we went with a overall savings for the 3-year contract versus a 5-year contract is really only another, what is that? $7,000 roughly of potential savings.
Are we comfortable with the 3?
I am.
Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the rate for a 3-year contract.
Okay. So we have a motion to accept the rates for a 3-year contract with Constellation. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments from the board? From the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Don.
Jason, could I use this as a moment for a
Sure.
public service announcement? You can do these rates for your own residential home. They have a website, it's called PA Power Switch. It takes you literally 5 minutes to compare rates. And I know I just did mine 2-3 weeks ago. probably save $50 a month in our electric bill.
That's great.
So it's worth looking at.
Excellent, thank you very much. Item 2E, approval of the 2017 equipment rental contract, and John Primus has some information. Good evening, John.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board knows, every year we enter into a rental agreement contract with a contractor. That contractor helps us with snow plowing and some paving work in the summertime. So tonight I'm asking for the board to accept the quote for the 2017 rental agreement from James R. Kenny Excavating and Paving Incorporated. Mr. Kenny is also a longtime resident and has his business in the township.
We've historically used him, have we not?
He's always
Yep.
came in with the lowest rate.
Always has, yep. Okay, is there a motion to approve the 2017 equipment rental contract?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, is there a second? Motion and a second. Questions or comments from the board?
I have a question. John, the not-to-exceed number is 18,250. I'm just wondering, how are the monies aggregated? In other words, does he charge by the hour, or is it by an event, or is it different based on what he's doing with equipment, or just generally?
Well, it depends what piece of equipment he needs, and mainly it's by the hour.
Okay, so it's an hourly rate, and it varies based on what kind of equipment it needs to be?
That's correct.
Okay. So, and then there's an agreement not to exceed 18,250.
That's correct.
Do you happen to know, without looking, what the amount you're spending on this year was?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It wasn't over the set price.
And the set price
And we
was-
watch that too.
The
how
set
much we're
price
spending.
was similar to this number?
Right, correct.
Okay,
And we watch what we spend there.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments from the board? From the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Excuse me, Jason, did we get a second on that motion?
We have Patrick with the motion and Peter with the second. Item 2F, approval of agreement of sale for the Crescent Street parcel. And John Rice has info. We've been talking about this for quite a while, John.
Well, you have a resolution in front of you which would approve the agreement of sale. So, resolutions needed to get the settlement from the title company. We've been sort of working our way through this. We got tax certifications are clear, title's clear. I think we're pretty much ready to go with this. And you will be the proud owner of a Getty Street lot. Once this is over, we are going to deed restrict his existing property. That's the last thing that we're working on. But-
And the property that we acquire is contiguous to other property that we currently own, correct?
Correct, or county-owned land.
Or
I believe.
county-owned.
Yeah, I think it's county parkland. So this, like I said, is ready to go. He's deposited the money to cover costs and the other items that we discussed. He's paying transfer taxes. He's cleared some of the things that were on the record, so we're getting there. You know, it's not easy to swap or sell township-owned property.
So I've heard.
This is a perfect example.
Questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve the agreement of sale for the Crescent Street parcel?
Make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Motion and a second. Questions or comments from the board? From the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. By way of announcements, a few final meetings. Actually, one has been canceled for this year. The Planning Commission meeting scheduled for the 21st has been canceled. The Zoning Hearing Board on the 22nd at 7 p.m. is still going forward. Item 4, comments and other business. I'd like to thank Carl, Karen, our corporate sponsors, our police, parks and recreation, and public works departments, and everyone else who worked so hard to make the tree lighting ceremony another success this year. There were many people here. It was heavily attended and a lot of fun, so thank you for everyone who made that possible. And I look to the board. Anyone else have any? Yep. Don's going to cover that one.
Just one other thing,
Yes,
if I
sir.
may. As a newly appointed representative to the Lower Perkiomen Valley Regional Sewer Authority, I'm pleased to inform the township that the long disputed and discussed route for the interceptor was voted on a week ago, on Thursday night last week, and that the interceptor application will be made to the Department of Environmental Protection along in proximity to the current pipe, which means there will be no river crossings in the Lower Providence area under that application, which was something that we all know has been problematic for many years, and we're very glad to see that settled and to move forward in that process and get this done.
One meeting and get it done, Peter.
It was actually two. It was actually two, and you're welcome.
Well done. Thank you for sharing that very welcome news. Okay, any other supervisors? Mr. Solicitor, I know, Mr. Manager, you have something to discuss?
Nothing else.
Yes, Mr. Stragini, I've prepared a resolution because of the electronics recycling event that's going to take place this Saturday. Montgomery County's holding at the community college in Bluebell. We have a list of 22 different computers that are very old and have been sitting around waiting for a place to go for some time now. So with that Saturday, we're going to get them all over there and get them properly recycled. But in order to do that, I need to get authorization by resolution from the board to dispose of this equipment. And before you is Resolution 16-81. Because there's no monetary value to the equipment, you authorize me to dispose of this, it says either by sale or other means, which will be recycling. I would ask for your consideration for that resolution.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 16-81 involving the permission to go forward with the disposition of personal township property valued at less than $1,000 by sale or other means?
Make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just one question. I don't clearly recall it, but earlier in the year, did we not have an individual come forward to us that was looking for electronic equipment for underprivileged children? And would this equipment be so outdated it would be of no value to them, do you think, to individuals?
Yeah, that's a firm down in the business park. I believe it's Team Children.
Mm-hmm.
This equipment wouldn't fit what he's looking for.
Okay.
But there actually is other Windows XP computers down there that I did not include in the list because we just moved them out a year ago. That would be something that I could speak to him about. There are no monitors, and I would have to make sure that he obviously wipe the drives clean. All the drives in this current set, the 22, have actually been removed, and they will be destroyed through a process that we've employed before.
Okay, so the equipment on this list
Yeah,
that
and
we're
this
considering is of no
it
value?
would not be. It's 8 to 13 years old, and yeah, it would not be conducive to what he needs it for.
Mine's 8 years old. Thank you.
Knock knock.
Any additional questions or comments from the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Staff, anything on your minds? No? How about courtesy of the floor? Would anyone like to speak? Now or forever hold your peace.
I think before we adjourn, though, we should give a perfect attendance award out to Miss Leah Baird for never missing a meeting. She's a stalwart out there, and it's always good to see you there, so thanks for attending.
Absolutely. And before we adjourn, I'd like to thank all of our staff and all of our departments and then my fellow supervisors for another wonderful year here in Lower Providence. Once again, we've continued to keep taxes low and continue to provide wonderful services to our residents. And I'd like to wish everyone who might actually be watching out there on TV a happy Hanukkah, a very Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year, and the best of everything in the year to come. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn one final time in 2016. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Again, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and have a good night. Thank you.